Hey, I'm Sam Sharada. I'm in Georgia, based in Winder, Georgia, and I fly the Patriot. I'm going to show you today how to remove a fitting and install a fitting using the DIY tools that I have made. For those of you that don't have the Bandroll and all the fancy stuff to get these on and off, I'm going to show you a way to do it just using a 5/16" bolt that I have. So we'll get to it, and I'll show you how to remove it first. All right, first of all, we have the old fitting here. I'm gonna just use this as a sample one. And what you need is, you need another fitting that is a spare, I would use, to go in here. A flared end for this is a -12 or a 12D fitting, and it fits in here nice and tight. So the first thing I make sure I do is clean the threads up pretty well. You can spray anything on there. Mine are already fairly clean, but I make sure I wipe off the end of this fitting, because especially if it had oil in it, you want that nice and dry. And also inside here, nice and dry, so they can mate together and stick nice and tight. Because what we're going to do is we're going to crank this in all the way down as tight as we can, so then when we back this out, it will take the blue sleeve in there and back it out from the gold sleeve. And then we'll remove the gold sleeve from the tube. That's the order of doing it. The threads are normal threads, righty-tighty for the blue sleeve, and then they're the opposite. Again, for the gold sleeve is actually lefty. You go to the left to tighten it and right to loosen it, so it's backwards. So what I do is I'll take this tube, and the first thing I do is put it into the vise. That's what I use. I don't have the right tools here, so I have crescent wrenches, all I have right here at the house. So I put it in here and even put a breaker bar, just any old pipe, unless you have a nice long one. And you tighten it down where you think you're darn near gonna strip it, it feels like. But you tighten it right down, nice and tight. Okay. Then you remove it. So I got it nice and tight in there. And then what I do is you want to grab that gold section and you put the gold section in the vise. So it's kind of a bad way of videoing here. Let me get you a better view, and I'll turn it so you can see it just a little better from the other direction. All right, so here you go. So I have the section we just worked with, and I'm clamping it to the gold part only, which makes sense because we want it to not move. And now we put our wrench on, and we'll back it out just like normal. And you're wanting to watch that sleeve in here. The sleeve, if it's not tight, it will stay still, and the outer nut will spin and nothing will happen. So you want to be able to watch some imperfection or something on it to see if it's spinning, and it is. And you can see here it's spinning. My hose is also spinning. And so you just back that out. And it's easier with two hands. It is not always easy. So you can see it's backing out now. So I'll continue to do this, and I'll get a shot of it when I'm about done. All right, I turned it around. It's a little easier to crank it on this vise here. So as you can see now, once you get that broken, it just spins out nice and easy. And mine were already kind of marred up, my gold clamps here from being worked with for so many years. But you can wrap that in something. You can put metal tape, you can put any kind of cloth on there, something that just keeps it from being marred up by your vise. But mine were already kind of trashed. But anyway, so you can see this comes out. So now we have this here and this, right? So for the yellow part, as I said, it's the opposite. So in this case, when we want to loosen it, normally you would think right would be tightening it, but right actually loosens it. So I'll crank it off. there you go. Comes off nice and easy. And then we're left with this. And of course, I just find it easier because I have it so tight in there. Put it back in the clamp, into the vise, and have the right size set. And crank it off. So here you go. So now you'll see all the pieces. So this, for example, is what would be up underneath on your oil tank. Is an extra piece I had. Goes into the oil tank, and then your fitting here would be on there. So anyway, that's where I got that. So I have this piece, and then these are, of course, 3 pieces. So that drops in here, this here, and then that's how it goes. And I'll show you how to install it. All right, this is for my oil line. I'm doing a mod on the oil system, and I need to create a new line. So here's some of the things that I'm using. First of all, this is a 5/8 inch bolt, and I used this to make a mandrel, is what I call it, I guess. But I ground it down just on a simple little grinder over there. And what I did was I ground it down so as you feed it, which is nice to do one-handed, as you feed it through here, it fits perfectly in there. So I had to grind a little bit off, but not too bad. But so you want to get a 7-inch bolt is what I used, and you cut the threads off because if you grind those off, it's too small anyway. So just right at the end there, you would cut it right there and round it off so you have a nice round end so it doesn't tear anything up. And then you just grind it down and keep checking as you go, and as you put it on the grinder, you spin it and grind and do the best you can. This fitting here is the one that was on the airplane. I'm using it to jam inside the nut to hold the sleeve there from spinning. This one is one, I went to a hydraulic hose guy that they can put these ends on there, but what I did was I got this little fitting here which fits the US NPT for the Dash 12 3/4 inch fittings. So that is what I used to put this on the line. So it fits in there perfect. So it's nice to have the US and the Chinese one. And when I did it, I had to drill that out. And so my bolt would go in there just a little bit farther. So anyway, I'll show you how we do it. So first thing you do is you mark off where you want to cut. And once you have that marked off for your length, use your cutting wheel and you'll cut right through there. And I taped off both sides to eliminate a little bit of fraying. So we'll see how that goes. So here we go. And there you have it. Cut the size. All right, then once it's cut, what I like to do is just use a lighter to clean up these ends. To kind of keep them from fraying. Sorry, my video is not that great. There you go. Now it's pretty clean. And now we'll put the sleeve on. Most of you probably know this, but as this sleeve goes on here, you always want to crank it righty-tighty, but in this case, it's actually lefty-loosey, but it will tighten. It's cross-threaded or reverse-threaded, so when you put the blue part in, you can crank it righty-tighty, and then you're good. So you can see it's pretty easy. It's right down in there, and I'll just keep tightening it until it comes up and sits close to flush, if not flush right on there. So here you go. That's what it should look like. It's flush right there. Now next, we'll get ready to put the blue sleeve inside. Now the key is, if you just put that in there the way it is right there, you'll tear up the inside of that tube no matter pretty much how careful you are. So that's where the mandrel comes in. And what we'll do is we'll assemble that. Try to do it one-handed here. Assemble that like that so it fits nice and tight. And then I'll put oil. I just use any kind of lubricant, which I happen to have some here. I'll just spray that around the end there, all around there, and inside there. For you old guys, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Doing something like that. Anyway, there you go. All right, we have it started in there, and now I will just start turning it in. And that pulls that yellow sleeve towards the cap. And what happens is you'll run into problems as it gets tighter and tighter because the way it's shaped, that will end up binding, and you have to make sure that blue part continues to spin. If it stops spinning, then you've got to tighten down your fitting into there. And then every now and then you can check to make sure the mandrel's going in, and mine's going in nicely. And usually it won't slip as much if you just keep it going at a steady pace. It's hard to do one-handed here. We'll get a video in a minute. All right, I cranked it all the way down. I left about that much, which I can leave that and be fine, especially on this hose because it's not pressurized. But by doing that, it gives me, when I'm at the airplane, if I need it to be a little shorter, I can really crank on this thing to crank that down onto here and get it to tighten up a little more, and I could get that a little bit farther. Or if I cut a little short, I'm good. So just to give me a little bit of adjustment, I left it there. So now we will remove this. And once we remove that right here, and then this will all come out, and then we'll take a look and see how clean it is. All right, now of course you should be using something other than a crescent wrench because they slip around a lot. I just don't have one here. I brought all the tools to the hangar and I'm at my house. But I did crank that on really, really tight. So if you need to, you just have a breaker bar and give it a little twist. And there you go. Crank that thing around. And sorry about the video. And now it loosens it up. And now I'll get my vice grips and I can pull that out because it's nice and tight, right? So if you can't get it out, you just get a little bit of vice grips just to give you something to grab. And it slides right out. And now we'll check it. Very hard to do a video like this. And see if I can get it where you can see it. I need to clean up the stuff from the cutting wheel, but all right, there we go. See how clean it is? You'll see little flaps. If you do the other way, you'll see little flaps of rubber, and you don't want that because it will get in your engine and cause all kinds of problems, or at least clog up your filter is the basic thing that would be a problem. So we don't want that. All right, guys and gals, I hope this video helped you out. Showed you how to remove a fitting and install it using DIY tools. So we don't always have the right tool for the job, but if you have a little bit of ingenuity, you can kind of figure out how to make it work. So I hope this helps you out, and I look forward to seeing you and flying with you soon. Be safe.